Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar for our disaster recovery webinar. My name is Adriana Serna. I am the communications manager for the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association. And on behalf of CHTA and Cable and Wireless, we would like to welcome you to our webinar. And our topic today will be disaster recovery. Before we present to you today's speaker, we're going to go over a few housekeeping items. This presentation is being recorded. You will be able to access the video of this presentation as well as the PowerPoint presentation 48 hours after the webinar is over on our website at www.caribbeanhotelandtourism.com. Just click on the CHTA Learning Tools button on the home page, and that will lead you to where you need to go. The presentation will last 30 minutes. If you have any questions during the presentation, please write them down or send them to us via chat, because after the presentation is over, there will be a 10-minute Q&A. You can submit your questions by typing them into the webinar's chat room, and any additional questions or concerns that you have can be addressed to the speaker directly after the webinar. The speaker's contact information will be on the last page of today's presentation. Now I would like to welcome Mr. Frank Comito, CHTA CEO, to introduce today's speaker.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for participating in our webinar series. We really look forward to continuing this service to members. We're pleased today that one of our partners, Cable and Wireless, will be participating in delivering this webinar. Disaster recovery, as you know, and business continuity is essential to the very survival of businesses. Having a business continuity plan is a process, and today we're pleased that Marcelo Oliveira from Cable and Wireless will share with us some of his thoughts about how it works, defining disaster recovery, how it works, and how you can apply it in your particular business, and some of the tools that Cable and Wireless has available in that regard. So, without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Oliveira, and we'll get started. Thank you.
Okay, Marcelo, we're giving you power over this presentation in just a few seconds, so you'll be able to see Marcelo's presentation briefly.
Yes. Good morning. Thank you, Adriana. Thank you, Frank. Can you folks see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. So again, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to make this presentation for you. As Frank was saying, this is a process. This is not a one-time initiative, but an ongoing process in order to guarantee the availability and the continuity of the business, right? Like a couple of just one very interesting example. I know it's not directly related to. Actually, I have an example that's directly related to the hospitality industry. But this past Friday, I landed at the Miami International Airport. Right? And you know, if you have ever been to the Miami International Airport on Fridays, you know it's the picture of a nightmare. Like a lot of people, and I do have a global entry, so I can go to the kiosks, scan my passport, scan my fingerprints, and there I go, happily after a couple of minutes. Right? I come to the global entry kiosks, and they're down. We wait for 5 minutes, nothing. 10 minutes, nothing. Then they start moving everybody, and the line on the global entry is just growing and growing and growing. And then they move everybody to the regular entry. So you gotta actually go talk to the immigration officers and everything. So, but you can imagine the picture. What it became. Like from 5 minutes to go through immigration, it took me almost 1 hour to go through immigration, right? So And why did it happen? Because it doesn't look like they have some kind of business continuity or disaster recovery solution for the global entry solution. The other day, I landed in Barbados, a major hotel chain in Barbados. Right? As I come to the reception to check in, a huge line at the reception. Why? The systems were down, right? And again, I believe you can imagine in a hotel, a system's down in a hotel. You cannot sell anything at the restaurant, sell anything at the bar, do check-in, check-out. So it's really a nightmare, right? So this is the idea behind these solutions, is to provide a resiliency for the systems inside of your company so you can actually keep the business going in case of a failure of your production environment. This is me. I can guarantee you I look much better in person, right? This picture doesn't really do any justice to my good lookings, right? But I have lots of experience in the information technology. That's basically the message here. So let me start by saying, and I don't know how many IT people really are on this call, but it is important that we start with this message. IT people know IT. Business people do not know IT, meaning that IT people knows the possibilities of using IT, right? As you can see here, a chief marketing officer is saying that she needs an IT partner in everything she does today, right? She needs to do a new product, new campaign, new whatever. She needs an IT partner. However, she does need someone that proactively comes to her and educates her how to do things, how to actually use IT, right? It's funny because since forever, we've always seen or heard that IT has to align to business and blah, blah, blah. But what does it really mean, IT aligning to business, right? It really means that IT needs time on their hands in order to educate the business how to use IT to create sustainable competitive advantages. And the key word here is really sustainable, because creating a new package, a new product, a new whatever, right, can easily be copied by the competition. Now, when you develop something that, and the integration of IT with the business, that really creates sustainable competitive advantages that are going to be a lot more difficult to copy. So you need time on your hands in order to educate the business how to create new products, how to develop these new distribution channels, new marketing campaigns, new go-to-market strategies, whatever, right? But if you are inside of the data center managing servers, managing operating systems, you do not have time to do that. Right. So what is business continuity? Right? When we ask business continuity, well, business continuity really is more about the business as a whole, not just IT, right? So business continuity really is a series of processes that are going to allow the organization to preserve the continuity of the operations, right? The critical assets, right? So, and what is disaster recovery? Disaster recovery really is more focused on the IT part. So while business continuity are a series of processes, disaster recovery are more a series of procedures, more in focus on more directly targeted to information technology, right? And what is business continuity management? Business continuity management is more a series of activities to administer, manage control the continuity strategy of an organization, right? So again, business continuity, a series of processes to ensure that the continuity of the whole operations of the organization. Disaster recovery, a series of procedures focused on IT. Business continuity management, activities to administer the entire business continuity of the organization, right? And what is the cycle of business continuity management, right? It's going to go around and round and round and round again. Like you're going to develop the plan, then you're going to test, you're going to update, you're going to do training and awareness. This is very, very important. Awareness is very, very important. As you're going to see further down on the slides, 70% of data center downtime is caused by human error. So abiding to processes and making sure that everybody is aware of their responsibilities is a critical piece of the business continuity management, right? And then again, you're going to go round and round and round. This is not a one-time thing that you're going to do once and forget about it. You're going to have to update and change the plan like very frequently. But again, what are the causes of downtime in the data center? First of all, we are on in a region that's prone to natural disasters, right? Almost every week, I access the National Hurricane Center website just to take a look where their storms, where they're going, if they're getting stronger and stronger, and whatever. So this is the first thing that comes to mind when we talk disaster recovery. Right? Right after that, we think about fire. Well, I can guarantee you one thing: mixing barbecues and data centers really not a great idea. Okay, and then, but the big problem, like I said, of data center downtime are people. Okay, according to the Uptime Institute, which is the leading institute in data center issues, 70% of data center downtime is caused by human error. It's someone that trips on a cable, someone that unplugs the wrong network cable, someone that does a poor configuration of a router or switch, and there you go, you have downtime, right? Here's another source of information, and you can see that human error is again by far the biggest cause of data center downtime. Again, remember the training, awareness, very key issues for disaster recovery. All right? But when you think of disaster recovery, it doesn't really need to be all about disasters. Right? You should be able to use your DR environment, or you have a production environment and a disaster recovery environment. You should be able to use your disaster recovery environment, right, to recover from stress situations as well. Let's say you're experiencing low performance in your production environment for whatever reason. You just don't know. Right? You should be able to actually transfer 25%, 40%, half of the people to the disaster recovery environment, and run half of the people from the production environment and half of the people from the DR environment, at least for the duration of the day, or for a few hours, or for a week, or something like that. At the end of the period, then you fail back and you integrate the two teams working together again out of the production environment, right? Another interesting thing, you need to do reporting, you need to do business intelligence. Why do you need to have extra capacity in your production environment to run reports, to run business intelligence applications out of the production environment. Do it from your disaster recovery environment. If you do have a real-time replication, or meaning that at any point in time the data in production is the same as the data in disaster recovery, why do you have to run reports or business intelligence out of the production environment and have an impact on the performance of the production environment during peak hours of the day? Or you have to work at night in order to run these reports. Do it from the disaster recovery environment. Another very important point, you're going to do maintenance, right? Today, how is it that you do maintenance? You're going to have to put the production servers down, and then you're going to perform the maintenance. You're going to apply patches. You're going to apply the new version of the operating system or the application. Then you're going to activate the server. Once you activate the server, very often you do have an incompatibility. Then you have a blue screen, right? So you lost the window of maintenance that day because you're going to have to roll your server back to its original state and then book some other time in order to do the maintenance. Do it on your DR environment. Go to the DR environment. Perform the maintenance in the DR environment. Meanwhile, users are working out of the production environment, right? No impact on the end users whatsoever. So you're doing your maintenance on the DR environment. You do all the tests, all the validations, everything is good, everything is all right. Then you transfer users to the DR environment and you perform maintenance on your production systems. But at this point, you're sure, you know for a fact that you're not going to run into any problems because you've already done that in the DR environment. Right? Same thing with security incidents. You have a hacker attacking your production environment, you have a virus or something, shut it down, and then you go figure out what happened and transfer users to the disaster recovery environment, right? Again, your DR solution should be able to support you recovering from stress situations as well, not just disasters. Because, in fact, disasters are a minimum part of a data center downtime. Really, hurricanes. Hurricanes are not they're not every year, right? At least I've been living in Miami for 3 years now. Actually 4 years. This is my fourth summer there, and nothing, right? I'm glad, but nothing. Fire, very rare in a data center, but human error, server failures, performance issues, reporting, maintenance, that's ongoing. That's on daily, if not daily, weekly, if not weekly, every 2 weeks. But that happens every like on a constant, on a regular basis, right? Why is it important to have disaster recovery? Because it costs money, right? If you don't, it's gonna cost you, right? Look at the numbers on the screen. A small company has an average cost of downtime per hour of $5,900. Mid-sized company, $68,000, and a large company, $1.1 million, right? The average number of disasters on a yearly basis, 1.5, 3, and 2.7. The average length of the disaster, 2 hours, 3.25 hours, and a half an hour. So the total cost per year, right, on average, is $17,000, $663,000, and $1.5 million, right? So again, you can see it costs money. Then, how do we plan? What do we do in order to mitigate the issues? I believe that if we do have IT people in the audience, you will know what RPO and RTO means. But very quickly for the rest of the audience, right? Time is going by, right? Everything is going well. Then all of a sudden there is a disaster. RPO really is how far behind you've done your last backup. So if you did a backup last night and you have a disaster right now, in all of the data that was created in between last night and right now is lost, right? And RTO is how long is it going to take to restore the systems? Again, how long is it going to take for the global entry to get back online? How is it going to take? How long is it going to take for the checking systems to be back online? Right. What is interesting about the solutions that we bring to market? Like we bring RPO to 0 with a real-time data replication. There is no data loss there, and we bring RTO very, very, very close to 0, right? Because we have the DR systems available all of the time. It's just a matter of failing over from the production systems to the replica systems, and there you go. You have your systems back online, operating online, right? Then you have to have a business continuity plan and a disaster recovery plan. What are the components of a business continuity and disaster recovery plan? First of all, you have to perform an impact analysis that's going to quantify the losses, establish the time to critical time to restore the systems. You're going to prioritize, right? What are the processes that you need to be back first, and then second, and then third, because very likely you're not going to be able to have all of them back at the same time, right? So you have to prioritize, and you're going to establish the people and the resources that you need in order to get all of that back. Then you're going to do a risk analysis, right? That's going to establish the scenarios. You're going to surface risks, vulnerabilities, analyze the how effective are the controls that you're putting in place, and you're going to have recommendations how to mitigate the risks, right? Then you have your recovery strategy that provides the what are the multiple alternatives in order to restore the systems, right? And what's the architecture behind the system that we need in order to guarantee the business continuity. And then finally, you're going to have your contingency plan, right? How to manage crises, the policies. You're going to have to establish the governability of the contingency. All of these sitting on top of the maintenance and test plans, as well as the training and awareness plan. Again, very, very important, training and awareness, right? Well, then you have two options. You can do it the traditional way, or you can do disaster recovery as a service, right? If you are going to do it the traditional way, I can guarantee you that it is going to cost you, you're going to have to put a CapEx up front, right? If you are going to do a SAN-to-SAN replication, you're going to have to purchase a SAN up front. If you're going to do server-to-server replication, you're going to have to purchase a server. If you're going to do software replication, you're going to have to purchase software, right? And again, not everything works as planned. So if you do SAN-to-SAN and it doesn't work, or if you do server-to-server software replication and it doesn't work, you've lost your CapEx. Or do you believe that if you go back to EMC and tell them, EMC, my SAN-to-SAN replication didn't work as planned, so can you take the SAN back and give me back my money? yeah, you better sit down while you're waiting because you're going to get tired of waiting, right? They are not going to return your money. On the other hand, if you're doing disaster recovery as a service, right, you can start with one server and then move on to 2, 3, 10, 100, 1,000 servers. And you're only going to pay on a monthly basis for one server, 2, 3, 10, 100, 1,000 servers, right, as you grow, as you use them. No upfront CapEx, just monthly basis, right? Another problem with the traditional business continuity and disaster recovery solutions is that, well, you're going to pay, and then you're going to keep paying, and you're going to pay a little bit more, and you're going to pay a little bit more, and you're going to keep paying, right? And at the end, you are afraid of using your solutions. Right? And I'm just slowing down in order for the animations to actually finalize. I should actually have removed these animations. So, but anyway, you're going to pay, and you are afraid of using your DR environment. Why are you afraid? Because first of all, testing, you likely have not done any testing, because testing traditional DR solutions is a big pain in the neck, right? Very often you have to go through weeks of planning in order to do tests. That's the first point. The second point is if you lose your one server in production, let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 servers in production. Right? If you lose your one server in production, you are going to have to shut down all the other 9 servers, activate all the 10 servers in the DR environment, and fail over everybody to the DR environment. The problem is that, again, we're talking IT here, right? Not everything goes as planned. So you're going to shut down your database, you're going to shut down your application, and when you activate them on the disaster recovery environment, they don't come up as planned. Not 100% of the time, right? So they don't come out as planned. And because you have not done any tests, this is going to be a shot in the dark, right? So you never know what you're going to hit. With a DR as a service solution, right? You lose one server, you're going to fail over just one server, right? Everything else remains in place, right? Actually, let me rephrase this. If you lose one server, you're only going to have to fail over one service, right? Again, if you lost your Exchange service, you're going to fail over just your mail service. If you lost your file server, you're going to fail over just your file server service. If you lost your SQL server, you're going to fail over just your SQL server service. Why do I reinforce service? Because it may mean failing over more than one server, but not the entire data center, right? So the risk is much lower. The likelihood that you're going to be successful is much higher. But again, there are some companies that still want to move to the traditional disaster recovery solution. All right? They still want to say, well, I want to have 100% of control of my solution. Again, yeah, you can do that, but you're going to have idle hardware. You're going to have to purchase a whole bunch of hardware, put it on a replica data center, and let it sit there idle. Right? Hardware, information technology hardware, sitting idle in a data center means burning money, because whenever you're going to need it, it's depreciated. It doesn't fit the new operating system or the new applications, or it doesn't have the performance anymore or whatever, right? So idle hardware sitting idle in a data center is same thing as burning money. And then you're gonna take this hardware and you're gonna move it to a different usage. You're going to say, well, I'm not using this, so I'm going to use it for something else. Whenever I have a disaster, I'll bring this hardware back into the applications that need to be failed over. All right? The problem is that you never know when a disaster is going to happen. You never know when someone is going to do some kind of a mess and cause downtime in the data center. You never know when someone is going to trip on a power cable. I actually have quite an interesting example. When I used to work back in Brazil for a major telecommunication company in Brazil, and we had the data center services, someone came in to do maintenance of the UPS systems or the no-break systems, right? So we shut down the power from the utility. Now all of the systems are hanging from, all of the servers are drawing power from the UPS system, right? And the guy went to test the UPS system, so he cut the cable, the power cable of the UPS systems. However, instead of cutting the cable that came into the UPS systems, he cut the cable going out of the UPS systems, going from the UPS to the server. So he cut the power of the servers. As you can guess, 2,000 servers shut down, right? As you would also guess, clients were very, very happy with this kind of things. Again, human error. You never know when it's going to happen, right? So you have to be prepared. Enter disaster recovery as a service. Enter disaster recovery as a service. Now we're not talking IT anymore. Now we're talking Legos. Why Legos? Because think about it. Let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes of Legos, right? And you have 5 pieces of Lego in each one of these boxes. How many different Lego toys of 5 parts can you build out of these 5 boxes? You can build 5 times 5, 25, times 5, 125, times 5, 625, times 5, 3,125 different toys with 5 pieces of Lego out of 5 boxes with 5 pieces of Lego. What does it have to do with IT? Think about it. The Lego parts, the Lego pieces never change. They are always the same, meaning that they are standard Lego pieces. Don't need to reinvent the wheel every time we want to do a different toy. The Lego pieces click together just like that, right? Very, very easily click together. And once you buy a box of Lego, you can start playing right away. So the time to market, again, very, very low, right? Translate that into the conversation about public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud. I don't like this kind of conversation about hybrid cloud because it implies that everything is going to move to the cloud. It is not true. Not everything is going to move to the cloud. You are always going to have your physical server, your virtual server, your cloud server. You always need to have some kind of IT in your data center, on your premises, and some kind of IT you can put it out, right? You may also have different platforms, Windows, Linux, AIX, AS400, Oracle, right? Whatever. And you're going to have, again, multiple environments, a production environment, disaster recovery environment, test and development environment, right? So think about all of the Legos and how it relates to each one of these pieces. Right? And then you can see in this diagram as an example, a standard grade cloud, an enterprise grade cloud, a virtual data center, a private zone, a dedicated private cloud, an AIX environment, an IBM I environment, an Oracle environment, right? Think of these as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Lego boxes here, All right. Why do we talk two different clouds, the standard and enterprise grade? Well, because you have applications that require performance and you have applications that do not require that much performance, right? When you need performance, you need performance. When you don't need to pay for a performance that you don't need, right? So you can have a combination of standard and enterprise grade applications running at the same time. Sometimes you may need a virtual machine that requires 128 gigs of RAM. A virtual machine with 128 gigs of RAM is a physical server. It's not really a virtual machine, right? Again, you can have this physical server under the same management portal. Right? And finally, let's say you need an environment that you can modify and adapt and change in any way you want. You can have a virtual data center from where you are going to be able to access your servers and change the configuration in any way you want. Let's say you have, as an example, a virtual data center with 200 gigs of RAM. You can build 4 servers, 20 servers, 100 servers, 200 servers with 1 gig of RAM, and then back to 50 servers, back to 2 servers, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? You should not be charged extra for these changes or for these reconfigurations, right? You could also have a completely dedicated private cloud for you, or you can also use one of the more high-end platforms such as the AIX, the S400, and the Oracle platform. You should be able to combine all of these Lego parts in any way you want, easily clicking them together to build your IT on your terms, right? As you can see, these are some of the benefits of disaster recovery as a service. We talked about simpler to test, automated. It's cost effective because you don't have to pay everything yourself. Faster recovery time and a much greater flexibility in order to implement the solutions the way you need. When people say that they need flexibility, so they're going to purchase everything to be as flexible as they want, that's a misconception of flexibility. Because if you buy hardware, if you buy servers, storage, software, and everything, well, there you go. You have no more flexibility. That's the only thing you're going to be able to use, right? As a service, you can actually grow, you can actually reduce, and your costs are going to grow and reduce as you change things, right? There are some hurdles in order to implement disaster recovery as a service. We understand that. First of all, you need bandwidth in order to install, restore, replicate, and seed data. First of all, when we're talking cloud computing, if you are trying to do cloud computing with internet VPN, you're doing it the wrong way, because no telecommunication companies will ever guarantee performance on an internet link. They will guarantee you the bandwidth. Like you have 10 megabits per second of bandwidth, you have 50, 100, 1 gigabit of internet connectivity bandwidth. That's guaranteed. But the performance, none of the telecommunications companies are going to guarantee you, because that's not the nature of internet. The nature of internet is best effort, right? So your packets are actually going to go through the least resistance path. So let's say you click enter and your data packet can leave your computer, go to in an extreme example, go to China, go to Russia, go to Brazil, and then they reach their destination in the end, right? So there's no performance guarantee there. Most vendors cannot guarantee a single SLA. What does that mean? Well, that means that most cloud vendors don't have connectivity. Ask Amazon, ask Microsoft, ask SoftLayer, ask any one of these companies to actually guarantee a single SLA that includes connectivity and the data center solutions. They will not, because they don't have connectivity. And the pure cloud model does not serve the need of large organizations. It does not. We just saw hybrid IT. Not everything is going to move to the cloud, right? So just expanding a little bit more in each one of these points. The bandwidth to install, restore. I try to work with a company that, as an example, can open up the pipe in order for you guys to transfer whatever amount of data you have. Just a quick example, we had a client with 5 terabytes of data in an Oracle database that we needed to transfer to one of our data centers. We opened up the pipe to 500 megabits per second. They transferred 5 terabytes of data over 2 days, Saturday, Sunday. On Monday, they're protected, they're good to go. All right? Most vendors can't guarantee a single SLA. We will guarantee you an SLA for the connectivity, for the data center, for the servers, for the operating system, for the disaster recovery application. The pure cloud model does not work. We are delivering Legos, right? Think about the Lego models. Build your IT on your terms. And when we say that not all applications are ready for the cloud, that's true. As you can see on this slide, many of the applications are actually moving to the cloud already. Right? Some of the other applications may be ready to move, and some applications will not ever move to the cloud. Right? But then again, we are not talking cloud. We are talking hybrid IT. So we are talking about physical servers, dedicated servers, virtual servers, cloud servers, a combination of all of these, right? At this point, you can move to an outsourcing model, not necessarily cloud model. So what is going on in the market? Adriana, we're almost there. I'm going to open up for questions shortly. What is going on in the market? Okay. First of all, disaster recovery as a service is growing as crazy, right? So as you can see, this year it is expected to grow at 47.80, almost 48%, almost 50% next year again, and the year after. And then as the numbers grow, the percentage growth actually starts declining. But you see that from $1.3 billion today, it's supposed to reach $10.5 billion in a few years. And so why is it growing so fast, so much? Because of all the benefits. Easy to test, quick to implement, flexibility, automation, faster recovery, right? And I forgot. There is another point that's really a big benefit of disaster recovery as a service. It comes with bottles and bottles of Advil, right? What do I mean Advil? Well, you don't have any headache, right? If you're trying to do it on your own, you're going to have to buy a whole bunch of bottles of Advil because you are going to have a whole bunch of headaches. I don't know if you know, Gartner has just, last April, Gartner released their first ever Magic Quadrant disaster recovery of a disaster recovery as a service. This is the most successful Magic Quadrant from Gartner ever. More than 7,000 companies have actually downloaded this report. And in fact, if you go to the link here, columbusbusiness.co/DRaaS, you can download the report for yourself for free. This report costs $2,000 to purchase. If you go to this link, you're going to download it for free. Right? What is important here on this slide? First of all, Columbus, or Cable and Wireless now, a regional company being placed in the Challengers Quadrant, very, very close to the Leaders Quadrant, right? The second of all is the strengths and weaknesses that you read on the report. Each one of the competitors have strengths and weaknesses, right? Some of the competitors, actually many or most of the competitors, most of the companies on the report, a very strong weakness that they have is the fact that their bills are actually different than their proposals. Every month there's extra things which are being charged from these clients, right? And they get very upset with that, of course. And the other very important thing, Columbus was rated as the best customer service by clients, right? Competing against IBM, SunGard, NTT, major companies which have been in the market for 100 years. We had the best customer service in the research done by Gartner. This is me, Marcelo. I'm a product director with Cable and Wireless, with Columbus, now Cable and Wireless. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Feel free to call me on my mobile, 305-934-4686, because people ask me, where are you based? Well, I'm based at the Miami International Airport. To be more precise, I'm based on seat 15A of American Airlines, right?
Thank you so much, Marcelo. Now we're going to open it up to a few questions, and I have one here. I think that this question is probably in the minds of a lot of the folks here on the webinar, is that for smaller properties, as you had said in some of your the content earlier in the webinar, that bigger properties obviously lose a lot, have a lot more potential monies to lose when their IT fails them. But a smaller property, even though the monies aren't as big, it's still a greater, possibly even a greater impact on their bottom line. So, but how does a property owner of a small to medium-sized hotel manage this situation? If they don't have an IT person, can a GM or an owner do something like this? How can this be simplified for the smaller to medium-sized hotel?
We have one of our clients is a company that has 25 people. They have absolutely no IT. Like we provide everything for them, right? So again, look for a strategic technology partner, someone that can actually do your IT for you, someone that can actually support your IT. But please do not hire a whole bunch of companies to do each one component of your IT, because that's going to become a nightmare for you. You're going to call one provider and they're going to say, nope, not my problem, someone else's problem. And then you're going to call someone else and they're going to say, are you out of your mind? It's not my problem, it's the first guy's problem. And then, no, it's the third guy, no, it's the fourth guy, right?
It becomes a blame game.
Exactly, it becomes a blame game. Work with someone that you're going to do one single phone call and they're going to solve your problems.
Okay. I have another question about data duplication. Some folks, I guess, are doing backups and things like that, and they're wondering if that's truly sufficient, if they really, really do need DRaaS for this, or is there just they're backing up their systems daily enough?
It depends on how critical the systems are, right? Again, if you have your check-in systems, your checkout systems, and your logistics systems that control everything that's going on in your hotel, can you afford to spend a day or two or a week without these systems? Likely not, right? So for these one systems, yes, you do need a disaster recovery as a service. And again, it's not that much more expensive than a backup system, right? It's very affordable. So look at the systems that you have. Not everything needs to be replicated in real time. Some of the systems do need, but not everything does. Some of the systems you can just have a backup or every day or even every week, and if you lose that, some of the non-critical systems, you can still keep your business going for another month or so till you recover everything. So why spend the money, right? But there are systems that you do need to have them online as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's,
okay.
And again, it's a combination again, right? Think of the Lego boxes, right? Combine them in any way you want.
Right. And one more question, and then we're going to close the webinar. The other question is, what if, of course, you know, you always think about insurance once you've had a fire. You know, so say you've had a situation where you've lost data. Is there anything that can be done in the recovery sense, and can that loss serve as kind of a map of what kind of recovery systems you're going to need in place for future, so that history doesn't repeat itself, so to speak?
Well, if you lost your data and you don't have a backup system, a recovery system, all I'm gonna be able to say is I'm very sorry for you. But I was at a bank the other day, and they told me that they lost on their Active Directory, the system that actually has the credentials of all the users inside of the bank. They lost all of the names with the letter A. They did not have a backup. They did not have how to restore the data. They lost, right? So they had to enter it manually all over again. Like thousands of people typed everything all over again. I was in Cayman Islands last week talking to a bank that had tape backup. They ran backup every day in 3 different tapes, right? And they rotated the tapes. Today we do backup in this tape. Tomorrow we do backup on that tape B, and the day after on tape C. And the 4th day they start doing it again on tape A. They had a disaster. They lost their all of the data. So we're going to restore the backup. Right? They tried to restore tape A, failed. The tape was corrupted. They couldn't restore anything. Gladly, they went to tape B, and they were able to restore tape B. So they recovered 80–85% of their data, but still they lost 15% of their data. Again, it's critical that you do tests. Backing up the data only does not guarantee that you're going to have your data when you need it.
Thank you, Marcelo. I think Frank would like to give a few words in closing, and thank you so much, Marcelo, for your presentation today.
Thank you so much, Marcelo, and everybody who participated. Hopefully you found it useful, and the information I think Adriana may have mentioned will be available for your reference. She'll be in touch shortly. We hope that some of you can also consider attending the Chief event, which will be held on October 2nd through 4th. There will be a session which will get into and touch on a little bit of this, but lots more coming in on business planning and redundancy and other kinds of things that can be covered in Chief and in some of the other sessions that are going on. We've got some great stuff lined up. So stay tuned on all of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Marcelo, for participating in the webinar. We really appreciate it, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.